This is going to be a very long video. The Halloween franchise is a franchise I absolutely adore, but the sad truth is, it is very convoluted. It is a complete mess. There's several different timelines, but guess what? That's the charm of this series, and every single time I go through this series, I get a different outlook each time. You can tell me you love Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, but to me, the granddaddy of them all is the Halloween movies. And today, I am doing the unspeakable task, something that's going to cause a little bit of controversy, and something that's actually harder than it looks, and that is to create a ranking list, worst to best, of the entire franchise. Bear with me, it's going to be a hell of a long video, and I'm not going to include Halloween 3 Seasons of the Witch, because it's not part of the lore. Yes, it's got Halloween in it, and there's some this similar filmmakers like Tommy Lee Wallace who did the production design of the first movie, but it's not, it doesn't count, and I haven't seen it that much. I've only seen it once when I was a kid, and I thought, I actually thought, there's no Michael Myers, I don't want to watch it now. And my mum turned it off, and I didn't watch it again. I need to revisit it, and I have heard it's like a cult classic now, but it won't count because A, I won't give it a fair judgment, and B, it's not part of the lore. But anyway, from the original Halloween all the way to the recent 2018 Halloween, I'll be ranking worst to best, and I can't wait for Halloween Kills. I just can't fucking wait. I'm waiting for that trailer to come out so I can just be happy and just soak in the excitement. And October's, I'm not going to say it's close, but it's getting there. It does hurt on the inside that if COVID wasn't a thing, we'll be getting Halloween Ends in a couple of months, but hey, to quote a wise man, it is what it is. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's fucking do this, boys and girls. Let's rank the entire franchise worst to best. And the worst is, in my opinion, Halloween 8 or Halloween Resurrection. Oh dear, where do I start with this one? Can I just say Busta Rhymes? I think that just sums up my entire thoughts on this movie. So, like Halloween 5, which I'll get to in a sec, it just completely shits on the previous sequel. It had a good ending. Jamie Lee Curtis, H2O isn't perfect, but guess what? It ended on a great note. The Halloween music comes on after she chops Michael's head off. Pretty badass ending if you ask me, but no, somehow Michael Myers is some sort of magician and was able to predict the future and swap bodies or swap, clothing, and the paramedic was able to take so much damage and was still alive, by the way, by the end of it. And I don't know, it's just, the idea on paper probably sounded good, but it didn't execute very well. When we killed Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, it just feels like, it feels anticlimactic. And when I see you in hell, and she kisses him, I'm like, and Michael's mask constantly changes throughout that entire sequence. Sometimes he's got an afro, and like it's just a complete shit show that first 15 minutes. The rest of the movie, I can watch. It's a time waster. I can just have a couple of beers or whatever and just drink and have a decent time. But is it stupid? Absolutely. But bear in mind, this came out around the same time as Jason X, and that motherfucker went to space. Okay. The worst part is definitely the part where he gets his ass kicked by Busta Rhymes and wanna be on Dangertainment? Let's see what you got. And it was like a fucking Tony Jazz spinning heel kick and starts screaming at Michael, and he kicks him out the window. Fucking trick or treat motherfucker. He electrocutes his ball sack, and Michael Myers actually screams. I'm not even joking here. And as a fan of all these movies, this is the part where I cringe when I go on the binge watch. I'm like, really, we've gone from greatness to pure shite. That's the sad truth. But yes, Halloween Resurrection, I could watch if I'm bored and I'm drinking a little bit. It's a good time waster, but it's disrespectful to the series and is a piss poor ending to the original timeline. Hindsight is 2020, I know, but I wish they ended it with Halloween H2O. But hey, you don't always get what you want these days. And number 9 is Halloween 2 by, guess which one? Rob Zombie, of course it is. Now, the reason why this one has the edge over Resurrection, I know I kind of swap in between depending on my mood. That hospital sequence with Michael fucking up Octavia Spencer and the axe scene, it's just a badass sequence, and I wish the full movie was like that. And then we get Hobo Myers, and Michael Myers turns into like a giant Rob Zombie with the massive beard, and you got his wife being this white horse. I get the symbolism, but it's so corny. And Michael Myers turns into like Jason Voorhees in the sense about his mom and all that. And in the first Rob Zombie Halloween movie, there was no clear hints that it would get to this position where he is seeing his mom this way. It just came out of left field. Most of these characters in this movie are fucking unlikable. You've got Dr. Samuel Loomis, the Van Helsing of this series. He is a douchebag in this movie, and Money Hungry, I actually watched the movie commentary because I'm that sad, and Rob Zombie said it's part of his redemption angle. I'm like, I'm sorry, but the last person who needs a redemption angle is Dr. Samuel Loomis. And Laurie, I feel like she has more of a good reason to be the way she is, but she has some PTSD elements to her, and that element is done well, but the dialogue, that the things she says, it's classic Rob Zombie. To me, she is an underrated Laurie Strode. People often shit on her and say she's not very good, but no, I blame the writing by Rob Zombie. But I'll tell you this, Tyler Mane is a badass Michael Myers. Yes, he's this brute, big, massive guy, but hey, he's damn intimidating. Even though we saw his face and he says die at the end, he is somewhat of an intimidating serial killer, but this is not really a Halloween movie. I don't know why I said I'm going to remove Halloween 3, because it's not a Halloween movie. This doesn't even feel like a Halloween movie. It's like Rob Zombie snorted a bunch of cocaine and then he decided to direct this movie, because the first one he did wasn't as over-the-top silly as this. And it's like he wanted us to be, oh, this is dead good with the hospital sequence, and then he wanted to just take it all the way and make us cry for the rest of the movie. There are some decent kills, there is some decent cinematography, but except from that, it is a pretty piss poor movie. That, even though it is a guilty pleasure for me, because when I do watch it, I always get hope at the beginning. Oh, maybe I'll like it this time, and then as it carries on, and the ending, I don't understand it. I'll never will, and I don't care to. And number 8 is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. It's pretty stupid. It's pretty stupid. So I don't know where to start with this one. So the reason why it's low is because of who they kill off. And Rachel, they just kill her off really early in the movie, even though she was a really good protagonist to follow in the previous movie, and they replace her with a character who's very unlikable and very annoying and does your head in as a viewer. Loomis is an arsehole in this movie. Like the previous movie I just talked about, he's a bit of a, he's pushing this child who's clearly in a vulnerable mental state, and the only decent moment he has in this movie, in terms of his character, the performance by Donald Pleasence is still as great as it used to be, but the final sequence with him and Michael, it was badass. That was when, he's trying to lure him in that trap, and it was a good finale to the movie, even though, in hindsight, Michael Myers getting his ass kicked by a geriatric 70-year-old with a 2x4 is kind of funny, but it's still a decent finale to that movie. Halloween 4, the ending with Jamie being hinted as the next Michael Myers. You can't carry on the franchise of her being Michael Myers, you just can't. You could argue, hey, they should have ended the franchise, but Halloween 4 did very well in the box office. So they brought Michael back. They have Jamie to be a mute. Jamie's a mute. The only decent character we like in this movie is a mute throughout the most of it. And there is some sequences too where it is a bore to get through. It drags on a bit too much. Barn scene, yes, the payoff is good, but the build-up is just too bloody long with these fake jump scares. I'm like, come on, dude. Am I watching an Annabelle movie? Like, what are we doing here? I just don't understand why Dominic Offerman-Gerard, the director of this movie, had Michael Myers cry when he is with Jamie. I get it, but it's Michael fucking Myers. He is the embodiment of evil, and you're making the dude cry, even though when we saw his face, there's no burnt marks, by the way. So, considering he's been through a fucking massive explosion in the second movie, he's in pretty tip-top shape, which is a bit weird, but hey, I can get past that. And then at the ending, when they arrest him, he's still got his mask on. The mask is one of the worst it's like I wiped my arse with it, and shoved it under my bed for 5 days like Deborah Hill did to the original mask, but it was like 2 years. It's a terrible mask. It's nothing like the previous mask from the previous movie. Continuity, guys, come the fuck on. What saves this movie is Danielle Harris as Jamie. She does a good job at carrying the movie, even though she's mute for the half of it. And the monologues by Loomis is something you can never get tired of. And the ending is somewhat decent. Then it turns into some fucking, I don't know, like guy, the Men in Black with the Tommy gun. Oh dear, oh dear. But yeah, I can watch this movie, and I can probably have a good time, to be honest with you. But it is incredibly stupid, and it was really rushed. It came out a year later, and if they took the time, we wouldn't have had a retcon in Halloween H2O. We wouldn't have had all these different timelines, which, in hindsight, I'm kind of grateful for because it makes the franchise more fun. But Halloween 6 could have been much better because I'll get to that now. Number 7 is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. This movie, to me, it had the foundations to be a very great Halloween movie. It had the atmosphere. It had the good build-up. It had really cool kills. It had Loomis being back to how he was before. He didn't get much screen time, but still. You had Tommy Doyle in the movie. You have all these things that could have made a great Halloween movie. What was weak was the story. And that's the most important thing in a movie, obviously. And I don't blame the writer of this movie. I blame the writer of the previous movie, how he left this Thorn storyline, and they just left someone else to make the next one to figure it out. I'm like, come the fuck on, dude. Like, seriously, you put this guy in a trap now. He has to explain what it means. Having Michael Myers be controlled by a cult is fucking hilarious. It's like Michael Myers meets Wicker Man. I'm like, you make Michael Myers a lot less scary, in my opinion. The whole producer's cut, what turns me off in that is when he fucks his niece, Jamie Lloyd. I'm like, like, come on, seriously? And what I do love about the producer's cut, though, we get more of Loomis, because they cut out a lot of Loomis scenes in the theatrical cut, which is fucking, it is rude, mate. They replace him with Tommy, played by Paul Rudd at the time, Ant-Man, which is hilarious as well. And you could tell he's he's a bit of a rookie in this movie. He's like, that scene when he has to go with that nurse, get me a doctor now. But it's great to see him in the movie, though, even though he plays as kind of a creepy dude. I'm not going to lie, he's kind of creepy at times. You know, it makes sense. Tommy was heavily affected by the night in 1978, so that kind of makes sense. Like I said, there's some nice, what's the word? Nice touchbacks to the original movie. Nice references, pardon me, to the original movie, and it could have made a great sequel. And there is some badass moments. For example, in the theatrical version, when he just tears up all these surgeons and the strobe effect, and that was a badass scene. And he caves that guy's head through the bar. I'm like, dude. Like, that's a shit I want to see, baby. And the guy who plays Michael, George P. Wilbur, the same person who was in Halloween 4 as Michael, he was more imposing in this movie. It was badass. And the mask, I enjoyed the mask. In terms of, there's always a debate with Halloween fans, which is the best mask. But I feel like Halloween 6's mask is one of the most underrated ones. But when it comes to the ending, when it comes to the ending, I have to give the theatrical cut more of an edge because somehow, some way, the producer's cut leaves us with more questions. So in the theatrical cut, it was heavily hinted that Michael Myers killed Loomis at the end, and he left his mask on the ground after getting his ass kicked by Paul Rudd, and he had green or whatever it was coming out of his eyes, which was kind of weird. But in the producer's cut, Dr. Wynn, who ended up being part of the cult, Loomis screams, and Michael's wearing Dr. Wynn's attire. And does that mean Loomis is like the new caretaker for Michael, or is he the next Michael? I don't know what the fuck that means. Call me crazy. Part of me wants to see a sequel to Halloween 6 to see how they would explain that. Bring Paul Rudd back, for God's sake. I would love to see that. But the biggest sin this movie made, and it's the studio's fault, is replacing Danielle Harris as Jamie, and how they write Jamie in the story. And they have her killed off in the first act in the theatrical version. Granted, it was a cool death, but really? And then in the producer's cut, she gets stabbed, she's in the hospital, and then she gets shot in the head by Dr. Wynn. And I don't get why part of the Strode family are living in the Myers house. Why? I just don't understand it. Why? It's just so stupid. And the father is a dick. But fucking hell, his death, it just explodes. It's one of those deaths where you love it, but for all the bad reasons. It's just so, and that's a reshoot as well, I believe. But Halloween 6, A Curse of Michael Myers, like my review of it right now, is a complete. It's a complete mess. You know what? I love it. I love watching it because there's so much potential in that movie. And I feel like if it wasn't for the studio interference and the bullshit Halloween 5 did, this movie could have been one of the best in the series, bar none. And the score, by the way, the Halloween score in this is badass with the guitar rendition, whatever it is, when they just mixture of the Halloween score. I just fucking love that. There's so much cool things in this movie, and I feel like people give this movie a bad rap, and I see why, because of the story. It had something there. It had something there, guys. Something. I really want to love this movie. I really do, but it's fallen in the. I like it. Number 6 is Halloween by Rob Zombie. That came out in 2007. My first ever video I did on YouTube is a review on this movie. So if you want to check it out, you can. But I love this movie, you know. Sometimes it pisses me off. The opening does. The first 40 minutes pisses me off. But the rest of it is so damn good. It's like Rob Zombie was purposely balancing himself between his style to John Carpenter style, and this is what was made. Now, the first 40 minutes is a big problem. It's just hilarious. You have the stepfather in the movie in the beginning saying, he runs around like a little bitch. Take that damn thing off. Michelle, my belle. I'm like, I'm all broken up here, bitch. I can't work. I'm like, what? You know, like, is it necessary to have this in the movie? I get it, Michael's part of this fucked up household, and that's the most interesting part, actually, is his idea is Michael Myers, it was nurtured this way. This is what he was trying to go for, I assume. Him showing us this fucked up household, is this his way of saying Michael was nurtured to be a 7-foot tall giant monster? Because that doesn't make any sense. But that's the opposite of what Carpenter was doing, because it's clear in the first movie, he comes from a wealthy, well-off home and seemed like a normal kid. In this one, you can tell he's a fucking cuckoo with his hair and the facial expressions. But in the original, and one day just snapped and he killed his sister. It's typical Rob Zombie. Maybe he did it just because that's all he knows. Because he did Devil's Rejects, House of Thousand Corpses, and that is his style, to be grungy and really fucking white trash and crazy. I mean, when you do get past that first 40 minutes, which is kind of hard, not gonna lie, the rest is perfect. I just love all of it. So you got Malcolm McDowell playing Dr. Loomis, and I believe that's a great choice to play this character. I can just imagine the stress everyone was doing during that time. How can you replace Donald Pleasance? And Malcolm McDowell, apparently he didn't even watch the previous movies. And I believe that about how he played the role. He wasn't trying to copy Donald Pleasance. The only pluses you get in the first 40 minutes, you see like a hippier, younger version trying to talk to Michael. It's a fantastic job and doesn't shit on it, but he does in the second movie. Thank you, Rob Zombie, for writing Loomis to be a complete douchebag. And Scout Taylor Compton playing Laurie, I feel like she did a good job in this movie. When it comes to the chase scenes and when she fights back and she deceives Michael a couple of times, you know. It was written somewhat decently in this movie, except from the bagel scene, which came out of fucking nowhere. Starts fingering the bagel. But Daniel Harris is back in this franchise in this movie, which is a goddamn gigantic plus. I think it was their way of saying I'm sorry for what happened in Halloween 6, because she plays Annie in this movie. The only actor, I believe, who's played 2 different roles in this series. 2 prominent roles, mind you. Jamie Lloyd and Annie, which is pretty badass. And in the second half of the movie, it is shot in the same location, or near enough, I believe, as the original movie. Perfect blend of Rob Zombie style and the Halloweens we love from the previous movies. And I feel like the ending, to me, the end of this movie kind of ends this timeline. It just shoots Michael in the face, and that is it. Job done. There is no sequel. No. I was on vacation when that came out. That doesn't count. No. It ended with a the death of Michael Myers at the end of this movie, and then we had to wait till 2018 to get another movie. There was no Halloween 2 that came out 2009, okay? You guys are out your mind, okay? Oh boy, this top 5 is gonna be dicey. I have a feeling I'm gonna disagree with a lot of you guys at this top 5. So number 5 is Halloween H2O, 20 years later. I was torn between this and Halloween by Rob Zombie. I used to think he was one of the best when I was a kid, when I was a lot younger. When I watch it now, certain things bother me a lot. It makes me like turn my head sideways like, And it's quite clear this is set during the time where Scream was a big fucking success. It relaunched the slasher genre. We had, I know we did last summer, Urban Legends, just pick one, and during that time, H2O was not the victim, but part of that trend. This movie, in terms of the soundtrack, in terms of the look, in terms of the execution, doesn't really feel like a Halloween movie. It feels more like a Scream ripoff. If you remove Michael Myers and Laurie from this, what do you have? The reason why it's so high is because the Laurie Strode storyline is done so well. I feel like her in this movie, she is an alcoholic, she has PTSD, she's constantly worried every time it's Halloween, she's looking over her shoulder, and it's set 20 years later. She has a son played by Josh Hartnett with a terrible haircut, by the way. I don't know why his hair's like that. And it affects her relationship with her son. She's left Haddonfield, which makes sense. If you are Laurie Strode, who survived the first 2 movies, you would want to leave Haddonfield. That's pretty smart, makes sense. But the downside of that is, and now we're in California, which is the opposite of Haddonfield. Quite, in terms of the look, I think it is California. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But when you want that Halloween mood, it's not really there, and it doesn't really feel like a Halloween movie. And I know people say it's like Michael Myers once had Dawson's Creek. I don't know the TV show, but I get what they're saying. But at the same time, this is why Halloween 6 and Halloween H2O is so fascinating to me. Because Halloween 6, the story was meh, but the look of it, the execution of it, was brilliant. The look of it, Michael Myers, how he looked, even though he was a bit fat, but guess what? Dad bods are in these days. It's all good, alright? H2O has a great story. Laurie being back 20 years, faked her own death, now has to confront her demons, put an end to it once and for all. Great story. The look of it, how it's done in the execution, how Michael Myers looks in this movie. It's a bit shit. It is. The mask that Michael Myers has in this movie, it looks weird, off. The guy who plays Michael, I don't think he had the physique for it. I feel like how that one shot just infuriates me when he's walking down the hallway and we see him and his eyes are clearly visible, and that music, dun 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 dun, the same music that was in Scream, same fucking music. I'm like, come on, dude. The most important aspects of these movies is the music. The classic Halloween music. That's my negatives with the movie. But the story is fantastic. I really do. I just love the story. And the beginning of the movie, where he is killing, I forgot her name, the colleague of Loomis. And there is some Loomis voiceover. There's some nice callbacks. You have Joseph Gordon-Levitt in early on in the movie with his fucking beanie on, and he gets escaped through his head, which was hilarious. I don't know why I found it hilarious. I just thought it did. And I think her name is Nancy. I don't know. I forgot her name. I've got a fucking name. I can't believe I got her name. And there's, some callbacks to Loomis, because this came out shortly after Loomis' death, which is, Donald Pleasance's death, which is a damn shame. I wish he was in this movie. That's another thing, too. I wish he was in this damn movie. At least like a cameo, at least. And the climax, when it turns into Mortal Kombat, pretty much, when Laurie's like, Michael, come get it, mate. You want some of this? Come get some, pal. And then he's hanging off from fucking things, and there's an axe and all. It's like a full-on barn burner WWE fight, and it's a fun climax. And if you ignore Halloween 8 and their explanation how Michael lived, it is a pretty badass finale to the series, the original series. And having, them about to touch, and then she just chops his head off, and that great shot when you just see her just, I finally did it. I have finally killed the monster of my life. And then the music comes on and it's over. Come on, dude. You can hate this movie if you want, but that is a decent ending. Compare this ending to fucking Halloween Resurrection when he just wakes up on the surgeon table, whatever it is. Like, come on, dude. I just wish they had a better mask, man. You can see his eyes, and I'm like, come on. It's not that hard. I know they had a massive issue. They had Halloween 6 mask and certain shots. They had CGI mask. Like, come on. And number 4 is Halloween 2018. Now, I watched this at the cinema, and I had a great time watching this. It is the perfect welcome back movie for you Michael Myers lovers out there. So we went through the tough times of Halloween 2, and then we got treated. Now, is this movie perfect? No. Do I love it? Yes! We got the vintage look of Michael. It is a direct sequel to the first movie, and it goes back to the roots of Michael. The mask is easily one of the best in the series, 100%. And the guy who plays him, I forgot his name, I've got a brain fart. James Ducournau does a fantastic job playing Michael Myers, and he is brutal. He kills kids. He was about to kill a baby and change his mind. He is on a roll in this movie, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, he is fucking nuts. And then we've got Laurie Strode back again. She is a different Laurie than H2O, for example. In this one, she's a fighter. Even though she is in H2O, but in H2O, she's more vulnerable. In this one, she's got guns, she's got traps, she's got everything laid out. She is the Sarah Connor of this franchise. Does that bother me? Kind of. It's kind of a bit ridiculous, OTT, but I get the message blah, 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 blah. I get the message they were going for. But on the plus side, I do like how it impacts her relationship with her family. Her daughter, and her granddaughter, they have a support relationship with each other because she is always obsessed with this Michael. And one of the most interesting ideas that this movie has is, it kind of acknowledges how Laurie only went through the first movie. In H2O, she went through the first one and the second one, which is pretty horrific. The hospital exploding and all that shit. There's a great line where the guy says, it isn't the worst thing in the world, people have been through worse, and, it's kind of a good point, people have been through 9/11, horrible, horrific things. So I like how that impacts her relationship with her family, when she's like, I told you so, bitch. He's back 40 years later. They have to get together and band together, and there's a great shot of them when they trap Michael at the end. They're all together, family, happy families. But yeah, my favorite sequence is the bathroom sequence. Now, there was a lot of references to the previous movies, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because hey, try and tell us to not pay attention to the other sequels, but you make your references at the same time. So I love that bathroom sequence when he just fucks up that podcaster guy, a Brit, the two Brits in the movie, the ones I was connecting with, and they took him away. He is fucking brutal. The way he bashes his head against the stall door over and over and over again, unmasked, by the way. The great thing to do in this movie, when he's got no mask on, but we never see a full face shot of what he looks like. We get hints, little tiny hints. We see his eye, but not a full face shot, not a full close up. When he's bashing that guy's head in, and then breaks that girl's neck, that podcaster's neck. A, I felt uncomfortable, which is the point of the scene, and B, I was like, oh shit. And he puts his mask on. Dude, I had a fucking rock hard boner during that time. No, I didn't. I'm just being satirical. But you know what I'm saying? That was a badass sequence. Will Patton playing the deputy. I forgot his name. How do I forget his name? He was a good replacement of Sheriff Brackett. He fills in that void, and he's a badass cop character to follow in this movie. It's a shame what happens to him, but maybe he comes back in the second movie. I know there's going to be a flashback in the sequel, so... Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, and that is Dr. Sartain. Now, so they had to have a fill in the Loomis void. I get why they did that. But the sequence we're all talking about, where he starts killing people, he starts going berserk, he starts wearing the Michael mask, which was too big for him, poor guy, and he's so desperate to hear Michael say something. He's lying down, looking at him saying, say something, and he gets his head smashed in, which was hilarious. I just felt like it was unneeded. And the only reason they did that so they can get Michael to Laurie, because in this movie they're not related. It just ruined the momentum of the movie. It was going up, it was rising, then it went a dip down a little bit, then it got back up. That dip was so unnecessary, and his character was fascinating and he had some funny moments, but that twist just ruins everything. when it comes to like character. I'm like, don't do that. It's unnecessary. That's my only negative of this movie. I'll be honest with you. I loved everything else. I really did. I could do nitpicks and mention how, you know, that I got a peanut butter on my penis. That was a weird line. It made me do this when I watched it for the first time. I did that, but it is what it is. You know, I can get past that. When she says to Laurie, "The world is a lovely place, the perfect, lovely, bubbly place." You know, that is a bit stupid as well. You know, but I can get past that. The atmosphere is there. The badass, oh, that sequence. When he goes from house to house, murking people. Oh my god! And the Halloween score, the music when he's going through house to house, and when he's chasing Allison as well. Once again, I had a massive rock hard boner. Just a fantastic piece of music and a fantastic sequence. Both sequences are just amazing. Even though the sequence when she's running is a bit too short, I think it is still badass. And that poor guy, you know, he saw an opening in her after her shitty boyfriend, you know, put a phone in that drink, by the way, which was just fucking insulting, by the way. I would have jaw that guy in the face. This guy thought he had a chance, and she just tears him down hard, and he gets murked by Michael. Like, poor guy. It's like a comeback. It's like when a boxer or an MMA fighter makes a comeback and gets a win after a couple of losses, and he's back, baby, or she's back, and it's Michael. Michael's fucking back, baby. And I can't wait for the sequel. Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. I don't know why I did that in that order. But yeah. You know, I've heard rumblings Halloween Kills is gonna be saucy. Saucy. So you got some flashbacks. And the Loomis, by the way, Loomis reference in this movie was done very well as well. It needs to die. It needs to die. Done very well. Number 3 is Halloween 2, 1981. By Rick Rosenthal, who did Halloween Resurrection as well, and oh dear, how the fuck did he get so bad? The big death scenes we see in this movie were done by John Carpenter, I believe, because he was trying to compete with Friday the 13th during that time. The reason why I love this movie so much is because it just takes place right after the first one. It's like a long, gigantic 3-hour Lord of the Rings length movie. You can watch the first one and then watch the second one straight away. And I can't just watch the first movie when I watch the first one. I have to watch the second one straight after because it's just a great full-on movie to end on. And I love the hospital setting. It has that atmosphere. It has that tension. But on the flip side, there is some moments. For example, the moment with the security guard. That scene was completely boring. It is dragged. Him creeping in the hospital and seeing him in the background and seeing him in the CCTV or whatever. It was pretty cool. And them getting killed off one by one. For me, when it comes to horror movies, I love when people are in a secluded building or secluded environment or area and they're getting picked off one by one. That shit, I just love that shit. And that's what this movie is. Set in the hospital. And the score in this movie, the soundtrack. Dude, I believe Alan Howarth helped John Carpenter in this one. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But in the opening credits, the pumpkin turned into a skull, and this is one of my favorite scores in the entire series. Ding dong 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 dong, like more high pitched, like it's just badass. For me, it's actually even better than the first one. Call me crazy, shoot me in the face, and call me, I don't fucking know, but that was just a badass opening sequence with that music in the background. And like I said, the kills are just glorious in this movie, absolutely glorious. The bathtub kill, the needle in the eye or near the eye, like ugh. I always cringe at that scene. Where the movie, it just shines. It's just like a beautiful, glowing it's the end. When Loomis, Laurie are finally in a shot together, by the way, Michael just breaks through the glass like it was nothing and starts pursuing Laurie and Loomis throughout the hospital. And Loomis makes the ultimate sacrifice after getting stabbed in the stomach and blows himself and Michael up while Laurie escapes. After Laurie shoots Michael in the eyes. Like, that scene, that ending is just glorious. It really is. It's just a perfect ending to this fucked up night in 1978. And I just love it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And, you know, realistically, you could have ended the series at that point. Because Loomis shouldn't have survived that. Michael, I guess, wouldn't survive that either. Especially if Michael couldn't survive it, Loomis sure as hell wouldn't survive it. So, and I love that scene when he's walking towards Laurie when he's on fire and he just drops down. Like, it's just a badass movie, and it just not many sequels take place right after the first movie. I'm sure there is some exceptions, but combined with the score, combined with the great cinematography, combined with seeing more of Loomis, more great monologues, him sacrificing himself at the end. Donald Pleasant shines even more in this movie. He's not. He's in it. I think he's in this movie more than in the last movie, in the first movie, and he just shines in this, and that hilarious, but it's kind of stupid when him and Sheriff Brackett, and the blonde-haired Michael Ben Tramer. Why? There's always all these movies have one stupid scene or one stupid moment, and we love it for it, but we don't at the same time. We just like, why did that happen? Like, and the cop says, it came out of nowhere. I couldn't stop. I'm like, what do you mean he couldn't stop? Like, what the fuck? Was the cop on drugs? And that great scene when Sheriff Brackett sees his daughter Annie dead, and he's like, damn you, what have you done? You let him out. And even Loomis is like, okay, he's grieving. I can't really disagree with him, but come on. I did warn you guys. I fucking warned all of you. Listen to me now. There's always one scene that bothers me though. When she sees Loomis and the other dudes entering the hospital, and she waits till they go inside to scream. I'm like, why? Why? Tell me why? Why? I just don't understand why you did that. But I love that scene when she gets up there when you see Michael in the background with a red light over him, and the music starts, and it's reminiscent of the first movie when she's banging on Tommy's door. Ugh, I love this movie. Okay, number 2. Oh, I am gonna get absolutely butchered in the comments. I'm just waiting for it. Number 2 is Halloween by John Carpenter. I do love this movie. I used to watch it all the time on DVD. That scene at the beginning used to scare me when I was young. Just the music used to creep me the fuck out. And the reveal that it's a 6-year-old child, it's just a badass opening sequence. The line deliveries it is a bit dated, but it's 1978, people. Loomis, the classic monologue at the Myers house. Goddamn score is popping in this movie. Jesus! When shit hits the fan, I just love how creepy it is too, because he's played a game with Annie, Laurie, and Linda. He wants Laurie to come over to the house, and he wants to show her what he's done. Like, he's proud of his work. And that sequence, I'm telling you now, it still gives me chills. When Laurie leaves Tommy's house, sees that house, and he knows it's completely dark, and where's the audience knows Michael's done some work, and where's the audience like, don't go, what you doing, you crazy bitch. And it is just fucking, it's just so much chills. I get so much goosebumps. And when I was young, I was like, oh fuck. And the music comes on, all these bodies, and then Michael pops out of nowhere, the darkness looms in, knife to the arm, then the chase scene commences, and just a brilliant fucking movie. One of the greatest movies of all time. If this movie was just by itself, there was no sequels, what a cliffhanger. Or what an ending, right? Loomis comes in, shoots Michael, disappears. And music comes on, shows you all the locations Michael's been in, and him breathing, and it just ends. My review of this is basically just me recounting the scenes, because it's just an iconic movie that has lived on over 40 years now, and it's still a fucking thrill ride. It really is. I love Halloween 4. Okay, Halloween 4 is number 1 on my list. This movie to me is my favorite sequel and my favorite Halloween movie. Loomis is on fire in this movie. His scene in the cafe is basically him saying, I'm willing to die just to stop you from wreaking havoc at Eddie Moore. And he's been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Set 10 years after 78. The guy who plays Michael, yes, he has shoulder pads on. Yes, it's really, really irritating and noticeable. But he is gnarly in this movie. What he does to that dude, I forgot his name. Rachel's boyfriend. Just tears his face apart, like, Jesus, and the sound effects makes me cringe all the time. I love the concept. The sheriff actually listens to Loomis. He learned from 10 years ago This is not something to be taken lightly. He's trying to stop Michael Myers, and he just tears through the police station. I wish I saw that as a scene though, him just destroying these police officers one by one, and then you have to rely on these country folk to get revenge, and even Loomis says to the sheriff, "You haven't got a police force," and and for me, it's just more memorable as well. It's a movie I watched the most as a kid, so I have more of an emotional attachment to this. And Danielle Harris was brilliant as she carries this movie, guys. She is the Laurie of this movie and does a bang up job, because when she has to act, she fucking acts. The emotional moments where she cries, it's all done very well, and you feel that scene where she gets bullied by all those kids. God, that's a depressing scene. Rachel in this movie is like the Laurie Void, even though Jamie Lloyd is a great main protagonist, and I guess Loomis is as well is the main protagonist. They like combined together. But Rachel does a good job. She's like the older sister. She looks out for Jamie, and she's also relatable. You know, she wants to live a life and all that. And then all this fucking chaos happens, and she holds her own against Michael. She kicks some ass against Michael, and it's just a shame they do to her in the sequel, because she was a badass character in this one, and definitely she held this movie up. Her, Jamie Lloyd, her, and Danielle Harris, and Donald Pleasance did a great job in this movie and holding this movie up, because the characters in this are fantastic. I like the sheriff as well. The sheriff is different from Sheriff Brackett. You know, he knows. He doesn't want to say. He doesn't want a repeat of the last two movies. He wants to make sure none of this happens again. I know the original concept in Halloween 4 was him to fight Michael in the house, and the house was on fire. That's a damn shame that didn't happen, because that would have been very badass. Because what they do with him in Halloween 5 is piss poor. It really is. And easily my favorite moment of the movie, even though it does cause problems with the series, is the ending. The ending is, if this was the last movie in the series, perfect ending. It really is a perfect ending. Michael Myers is dead, and Jamie Lloyd took this evil on. The evil's passed on to Jamie, kills her stepmother, and that scene when Loomis is on the stairs and sees her with the clown mask on and the costume and the bloody scissors, and he just completely loses it, because he's like, not again, and he's crying, he's about to shoot her, and the sheriff stops him, and he knows, oh, not this again, another one. Dude, that ending is shocking, horrific, goddamn depressing if you're Loomis. He spent so many years trying to stop Michael, now he has to deal with her. God. Now, practically speaking, you know, her being the killer in the future movies doesn't really work. I understand that. But if this was the last movie to watch in the series, what a badass ending. Like, whoa. Because it definitely shocked the shit out of me when I first watched it. And that was my ranking on the entire Halloween movies. I had a blast doing this. It's been fun because I absolutely loved this series ever since I was a kid. And I haven't seen this movie since last year, since last September. And when Halloween Kills comes out, when it's close to that release date, early October, late September, I'm gonna do a reaction to all these movies, like I did for Scream, where I've watched the movie before, but I'm gonna watch it again because you know it's such a fun watch for me that I'm definitely gonna check them out again and do a binge watch before I get to Halloween Kills. And when Halloween Kills comes out, you know I'll get to that as well. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. But it's been a blast, and if you guys want more rankings out of me, or when I rank, you know, movie franchises of any sorts, let me know in the comments. And I'm still doing reaction videos. Don't worry. This is just a one-off. Maybe see how this does. It was like a spur of a moment idea, but I really enjoyed doing this video. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. And if you want to go on my Patreon to support the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. I do full-length reactions to all the movies and TV show episodes I watch on Patreon. And yeah, I will see you guys next time, and have a good day.